I will show you an amazing trick that can solve extreme Sudoku. And with that, it's solving time. First, you want to test how hard this puzzle is by looking for digit restrictions and easy solves. If you look down this first tower, you might notice with these two sixes and this 6, there's only 2 places to put a 6 here in block 7. So there's some restriction there. And then with these 2 9s, there's only 2 places to put a 9 in block 4. Not much to start with. Greetings, friend. I want to thank Shy for creating this wonderful puzzle. Features an amazing Sudoku trick that works on extreme puzzles. Now, continue to look for digit restrictions from 1 to 9. You gotta figure out how hard this puzzle is and where to make the break-in. If you look where the 1s are, there's no solves and there's no 3x3 blocks where you can only mark a candidate in 2 locations. Same thing with the 2s, same thing with the 3s. If you go with the 4s, with these 2 4s and this 4, you can mark 4s right there. So this is just helping you find digit restrictions in this block. Nothing else with the 4s. Go to the 5s. You'll see with these 2 5s and this 5, 5s are limited in block 3 to these 2 spots. And then with these 2 5s, they're limited right here in block 8. And with these 2 5s, limited to these 2 spots in block 5. And there's something interesting going on with the 5s. Since they're restricted to columns 4 and 5 in blocks 5 and 8, you know a 5 can't be in any of these spots. So where can a 5 be in column 6? Well, it has to be one of these 3 spots here. Since you have a 5 in row 1, this creates a claiming pair of 5s. So the 5s claim these 2 spots for block 2 because they got to be somewhere in the column. And I cover claiming pairs and the other top Sudoku strategies in my free Sudoku solving guide. But nothing else you can do with the 5s for now. Move on to the 6s. You mark the 6s in block 7, but you might see with these 2 6s and this 6, 2 places for a 6 in block 3. Go on to the 7s. With these 7s in rows 1 and 2 and this 7, 2 places for a 7 in block 3 as well. And with these 2 7s and this 7, 2 places in block 7. Okay, still no solves. Let's move on to the 8s. Well, with these 2 8s and this 8, 2 places for an 8 in block 3. And then with these 2 8s, 2 places in block 5. Okay, and with these 2 8s and this 8, 2 places in block 7. Still no solves. You can check out all the other blocks. You're not going to find an easy way to solve an 8. Move on to the 9s. These 2 9s and this 9, 2 places for a 9 in block 3. And then in block 8 with these 2 9s, 9s are restricted right there. And that's it. But that's all you can do. We went through all the digits 1 through 9 and you didn't get any solves. And so now this puzzle is at least considered hard. Normally you have 2 choices of where to move forward next. First choice is you can look for single candidate strategies. So these are advanced strategies like X-wings, skyscrapers, 2-string kites, X-chains. And what you would want to do is color all the possibilities for a candidate in each of the blocks and then see if there's any conjugate pairs where they're restricted to 2 spots. Those are usually the building blocks foundation for those single candidate strategies. I'm going to save you some time and tell you if you do that, you're not going to find anything. The other types of hard strategies involve by-value cells. So that's where a cell is restricted to 2 candidates only. And there's only a few cells in here that are by-value cells. You might notice there's no real heavy houses or any rows, columns, and blocks other than these 2 that have 5 or more digits. But if you wanted to find the by-value cells, you could look right here and notice that this cell can't be a 1, 3, 5, 6. It can't be a 4, 8, or a 9. So that's a nice 2, 7. This cell can't be a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, or a 9. So that's a 4 or 7, BVC. This cell right here, it's kind of an intersection of column 3, row 3. Can't be, it could be a 1, but it can't be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or a 9. So that's a 1 or an 8. And then this cell can't be a 1, can't be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or an 8. So that's a 2 or a 9. And these are the only bi-value cells you'll find at this point in the puzzle. And they don't have any real synergy. They don't share too many candidates in common, don't form any advanced strategies. And now the question of the day. What did you do at this point in the puzzle? Were you able to find a way forward? Please, please, please share it with me. I want to know, and I answer every single comment. If none of the bi-value cell strategies work or the single candidate, to me, the puzzle is considered extreme. You're not going to be able to solve it with those types of strategies at this point. So you have a third option. And what I consider is the third option is the setter's intent. You know, Shy telegraphed something. Didn't want you to be completely stuck. Actually, Shy is trying to share an idea with you that you're going to find really cool about Sudoku. So let's go back to these corner blocks. You notice there's a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this has to be a 1, 2, or a 3. Okay. In and itself, not that remarkable until you go down here and notice that this block 9 also can only be a 1, 2, or 3. So now Shy is trying to tell you something. So you want to dig a little bit further and kind of go down the columns and the rows where you have extra digits, extra givens. You might notice that you got this 4, 5, and 6 in column 1, 7, 8, and 9 in row 9. So this cell can only be a 1, 2, or 3. And this is huge because now you can see you have a naked triple 1, 2, 3 in column 1, which restricts these cells now to 7, 8, 9. And this can't be a 9. And you have a 1, 2, 3 naked triple in row 9. Restricts these cells to just a 4, 5, or a 6. And this can't be a 5. Okay, so there's something going on. There's some kind of connection here. And then if you notice, there's extra restrictions in column 9 and row 1. So what can they be? Well, in column 9, you got 4, 5, 6, 8. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 7, or a 9. This can't be a 1. These can't be 9s. This can't be a 7. And you'll notice this can't be a 7 either. And Shy did put some extra restriction. Just by using markings, you can notice that this cell had no markings, and neither does this one. So this cell couldn't be a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or a 9. So you actually know this can be a 1, 2, 3 right off the bat. And then to finish row 1, since you have a 4, 5, 7, 8 given, these can be of a 1, 2, 3, 6, or 9. And this can't be a 1 or a 9 because of the 9 and the 1 right there. Now you got to look and go, okay, is there something else you can do to further make restriction? And there is. And this is the key here. You can start down in block 9. I prefer you start in block 1. You know this, you don't know if this is a 1, 2, or 3, but you know it's one of those 3 values. These cells are the same thing. You know, one of these has to be, 1, 2, or 3, and so does this one. They have to be different values since they're in the same block. So I'm going to mark this one orange to kind of keep things straight in my head. This cell purple and this one blue. So take this along. You don't know what value this is, but you know since this would be a purple and blue value different from the orange one, what does this cell have to be? It's got to be the orange value. It has to be the same value as this one, right? Because this would restrict, it couldn't be in those two, it has to be there. Okay? And if you take it to row 9, you'll notice it couldn't be one of those 2 cells. So where does the orange value go in block 9? It's got to be right there. And now you can make some great deductions here in block 3. This is the key. This is beautiful. Since this is the purple value and this is the orange value, what value can this cell be since it shares the row and shares the column with those 2 colors? it has to be blue. It has to be the blue value, right? And then what can this value be? Well, since the blue value is here and the orange value is there, and they both see this cell, they share a row and block, this has to be your purple value. Okay? And take it further. Since this is purple and this is orange, and they share a block and a column, this has to be blue, and that's going to be your purple value. All right, you're like, great job, Timberlake. You colored up the block. Well, what does this mean for the cells here in block 3? Well, by using multicoloring, you can determine that any cell that sees all 3 colors cannot contain those 3 digits. It cannot contain a 1, 2, or 3. And since you have these 2 here, and this in the column, this in the row, all 3 of these cells cannot contain a 1, 2, or a 3. This is beautiful stuff that Shai did. I love it. It's an amazing trick, and you can see it just by using multicoloring. You don't need any fancy, like a computer tries to solve this, it's going to use grouped alternate inference chains, very advanced strategies. You can see this just by using coloring. So now what do you know? You know that this cell has to be a 9, this one has to be a 7, and this one has to be a 6. And you're not done with the coloring. There's another little bonus tip I'm going to give you about coloring. And here it is. Any restriction that you find in one of these colored cells applies to all the colored cells. So, for example, this 6 cannot be a 6 there anymore. This cell cannot be orange or pink. It's got to be the blue value. Since it can only be a 2 or a 3, then you know that all the blue values can only be 2 or 3, right? Because if you put a 1 there, it won't work for this value. And you know it has to be, these all have to be the same value. Well, you come down here with this 9, 7. This has to be one of our 3 values as well, right? So it's got to be the pink. And now you know the pink cell cannot be a 1 either. So all these cannot be 1s. And what does that mean? It means now you know you can solve the orange cells for 1s. Of the 3 values, the orange is the only one that all of them can be a 1. So you can solve that for a 1. And I'm going to remove the orange cells because you don't need those anymore. I want to keep these pink and purple till you figure them out. And now you want to look at impact, row, column, block. Is there something else going on that you can do by using this? Well, check out these 1s. With these 2 1s, we're going to want to go in block 8. It's got to be there so you can displace that 9 and solve for a 9 right there. And then with these 1s, you can solve for a 1 in block 2. And then you notice with these 1s, solve for a 1 in block 4. Solve for a 1 there in block 6. And then with this one, you can solve for a 1 right here in block 3. And you displace the 8. Displace the 5, and you displace the 4, you can solve all of those cells right away. And then this gives you a nice, can't be a 2 or 3, because you got a 2, 3 here. This now has to be 7 or an 8. So you can mark 7, 8 right there. And then what you can notice in the column, since this is a 7, 8, and you got a 1, 4, 5, 6, 8 here, this can be 2, 3, or a 9. And you can restrict the 9s to these 2 cells. Okay, now what do you want to look at? Well, with this 5, you can displace the 5 right there, solve this cell for a 5. And then you notice that with the 2, 3 in the row, the 5 here, the only thing left in row 2, it's got to be a 4. And then when you end up with is, looks like a 2, 3, or 6. Well, with the 6, here's a 6, and here's a 2, 3. And that's going to be a purple 2, 3, since you get the blue in the row and in the block. So continue on. We just marked 6s. That can't be a 6, can't be a 4 because of this 4. So now that's going to be a 5. And you can remove the 5 from right there. And so then with these 6s, you know, one of these cells has to be a 6. And you continue on, you can make a few more solves. With this 1, you know that has to be an 8. This has to be a 7. This has to be a 2 to finish row 7. Nice. You can remove the 7s from right there, so you have an 8, 9 naked pair. Okay, and you might notice now the 8s are restricted to rows 5 and 6 in block 4. 5 and 6 in block 5, so working an 8B in row 4. Can't be here or here, can't be there or there, can't be in these cells. This has to be your 8. It's a hidden single 8 in row 4. So that's an 8. Now that's going to be a 7. And now you can solve this for a 2 because of the 7 right there. Nice. And then what you might see with this 2, this can't be a 2 anymore. And you have a 3, 8, 9 cutting across here. Well, with this 9, that can only be a 3 or an 8. And now you want to see, what else can you do with the solves? Well, what can be down here? Looks like 2, 4, or 6. With this 2 coming down, you can solve for 2 in block 8. And now you can solve all of the blue cells. Since this is a 2, blue cell has to be a 3. You can mark all these for a 3. So really quick solve there, which means all of the purple have to be a 2. And there you go. You get some multiple solves in pretty quickly that way. And now that can't be a 2, you got a 3, 9 right here. And you want to see what else you can do. Well, with this 3 now, that's got to be the 8. That's the 9, that's the 8. So hunt down those marks, get those quick solves in, so you actually can take advantage of the marks you made early on in the puzzle. And we'll see now with this 5, that can't be a 5, so you got a 5 right here. And then you got a full house in column 6, so this has to be a 4, which means that's going to be a 7. And with this 7, you can solve for a 7 in block 4. Leaves you with just a 3 and a 4 here with this 4. There's your 4. That's going to be a 3. I don't see a 3 in block 5, so there's the 3. This has to be a 9 to finish block 5. And then you're just looking. Looks like you just have a 4 or 6 there. Can you do better than that? Yep, because you can come down column 2. Notice that you only have a 4 remaining, which puts the 4 right there, the 6 right here. That's going to be your 6, and our last digit is a 3. Now challenge yourself to find the amazing trick in this next video. Thank you so much for watching.